It appears that there is some unrest among the ranks of All Elite Wrestling. According to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer Radio, people within the company are not particularly happy with recent comments made on Dax Harwood's podcast. While the specific details of these comments have not been disclosed, it has been speculated that they may have to do with AEW's stance on former WWE World Champion CM Punk. Some within the company are reportedly against the idea of bringing Punk back, and it is believed that these comments may have further fueled the backlash. I mean, this is funny. I read this article. This is funny. This is somebody dancing around the idea. We know exactly who and what this is. This is the AEW Mean Girls now pointing their finger at the next self-appointed bad guy, which is Dax Harwood, right? Dax, you can't go on a podcast and say things that change the narrative that we've had for the last, 6 months. Hey, our story has kind of stuck and everybody's believing it. You can't go out there and make it seem like CM Punk might be the good guy. I have a hard time watching AEW, and I'm doing it and I'm enjoying some of the product, but I have a hard time watching it knowing that Tony Khan has no fucking spine. I mean, Tony Khan is a little bitch. He needs to step up and tell these guys to shut the fuck up. He needs to step up and tell these guys, if you don't like it, take your shit and go. Because you cannot run a company where you allow people to dictate just even the messaging that comes out of your company. So if a well-liked person like Dax Harwood goes on his podcast and says something that these elite don't like, they then come back and they bitch and they cry and they complain to the Dave Meltzers of the world. Like, this is getting ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's obvious to me at this point. At one point, I was saying, like, there's a possibility that CM Punk could have not been in the wrong. At this point, I am convinced the elite are the problem. They don't want anybody else playing on their playground. They don't want anybody else changing the rules, and they don't want anybody else changing the optics. And so here I go. Is the IWC, they've stood behind the elite. They've stood behind Kenny Omega, their Lord and Savior, Kenny Omega. But is the IWC going to turn on Dax Harwood now? Is the IWC going to turn on FTR? Because this is one of their darlings. This is somebody that the IWC loves to place on this pedestal. But it looks like Dax Harwood's kind of chose his side of the street, and his side of the street was CM Punk. Now, he did go on to say, I wish everybody would just get along, but of course that is completely ignored by the elite. They choose just to come out and kind of just drop a big pile of dog shit all over another person who chooses to go against the standards that they have set up for their little playground. I mean, it's sickening at this point. I have a hard time. I want to like the elite. I want to like the Young Bucks. I want to like Kenny Omega. They're entertaining, but they're just kind of dog shit people. Like, when you read this kind of stuff and you see that people within the company are against the idea of bringing CM Punk back, and you know who they're talking about, and they're just kind of dog shit people. Like, I at this point, I hope CM Punk comes back to WWE. I hope FTR goes to WWE, and I hope they have extremely productive runs in the company. Whether or not that'll happen, I don't know, but I hope it happens.